Now, welcome to Sheep School. So these boys are in the shed here. They're inside to keep them out of trouble. Well, I don't really have anywhere to put them because I'm trying to keep grass for the ewes. So they're inside for a wee while now just to house them. And once the ewes come in, they go back outside. But I'm just going to grab a bale of silage to feed these now, and we'll get a look at that. This bale was lovely dry stuff. It was made last summer. It's a type of haylage. It got 24 wraps. So we'll open it up, have a look at it. So there you have it. That's it opened up. It looks like great stuff. Nice golden colour. Yeah, it smells really nice. It hasn't that sour smell that sometimes you get in silage, the stuff that sheep don't like. So it looks like great stuff, but I've had this stuff tested, and believe it or not, the DMD is 65%. Now that's extremely low. If you're trying to feed ewes in late pregnancy, this stuff is not good quality. It's just not high enough quality. The sheep can't get enough nutritional value from it. Look, it's fine for these boys. These boys are in for just about a month, just to kind of tie me over until I get the ewes in, and then they can go out. It's fine for them because they're only really on a maintenance diet. They haven't got lambs growing in them. They haven't got that extra nutritional demand. But this stuff, for feeding ewes, it's just not good enough. So we'll get this shuck out. These boys are hungry. We'll catch up with you in a bit. So that's them fed. It's pretty nice looking stuff. Every one of them eating. All look pretty happy. But it's surprising how deceiving the actual feed value of it is. So I suppose it's just something to think about. I've my stock of bales here for the winter behind me. So I have a man here who's going to take a couple of samples off them. So we have two different bales we want to test. One of them has molasses in it, the other one doesn't. Just want to compare the difference in the feed value so we know how much meal to feed the sheep. So I have Seamus here and this little man here to help me. He's going to take the samples. Seamus is going to show us how it's done. So this is a core are you using, Seamus, is it?
Yeah, it's core, so it is. So
yeah.
It's hard to drive it in. They're dry anyway, so they are.
Yeah.
So we'll take a sample of a couple. We're only leaving a little small hole there, it's easy fixed there,
yeah.
So there's a patch. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll not be feeding these for 3 weeks or a month, so we'll see her back up again. How's it looking? It's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, there's a nice smell, you'd know the molasses on it, so.
Yeah, right, okay. Aye, so this bale here has been, I think we'll put, I have to check my figures, but I think each bale got about 10 kilos of molasses. So it was applied to the row. I think I have a wee video clip of that when I was doing it. So I've applied it to the row of grass just before the baler. So it's only a wee experiment to see how that affects the DMD. So it's like the identical bales with molasses and without molasses. So that's it there. That's the first sample with molasses. It's smelling pretty good. It's nice and dry as well. So how are you finding the silage samples this year so far?
First cuts have been hard, so they have just difficult start with wet.
Yeah.
Wet in May. That silage got delayed then.
Yeah. I delayed into June, I suppose.
Into June,
yeah.
A bit of stem.
Yeah.
So the year turned out good after May. We'd second cuts picked up and third cuts.
Yeah.
But just first cuts have been just difficult this year. So
yeah.
so.
Probably not a great year to be feeding poor quality silage with the price of concentrates. But what can you do? Sure, you
have to feed what you have. Yeah, that's all you can go with, isn't it?
I haven't actually used Agri King's product. Seamus is supplying a product that is added to grass before it goes into the machines.
Yeah, so the Silo King goes on at harvesting, so it does, and the idea is to I suppose to get the most out of your bales, to get increase in your dry matter when you come to feeding out, your IVDMD, and cut back and concentrates down when it comes to feeding. So yeah, that's the idea.
And have you any rough idea or figures of how much your product will improve feed?
Yeah, it's probably, depending on the quality of the feed going in.
What you start with,
yeah. But probably, a couple of percentage DMD, bit of an increase in calories when being fed out.
Yeah.
Which over a pit of silage or a stack of bales doesn't belong coming in to cover a bit of meal, like so it doesn't. So
every percentage increase in DMD makes a big difference at feeding time.
And again, it doesn't matter what you're feeding. It's very easy to reduce back. If it's fat yolks or something, you can reduce it back. If you're trying to increase it, it takes concentrates, which is
to make up the balance. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I haven't used Seamus's product yet. Now it's something that I will be doing. I'm going to try it because I've realised, like, I started feeding hay and making up the balance of requirement, the nutritional requirement with meal, but it's just not an option anymore with the price of meal. So moving forward, I done this wee experiment with molasses. So moving forward, the molasses got too expensive now to use it. I don't even know if it's going to be a success. So moving forward, my plan is to try Seamus's product and see if we can get that DMD up in the grass and hopefully reduce the concentrates bill. So that's the plan, anyway.
Yeah, no, we'll have a look, please.
Great to have helped Seamus.
Yeah, very enthusiastic.
That's what you want, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely. It's actually nice and dry stuff, isn't it?
Very dry, pushing the core into it.
Yeah, it's hard enough to cut into it. Yeah, it probably doesn't smell as sweet, but it's nice enough stuff too, I'd say.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with it now. Looks well.
Yeah. So, Seamus, you're just, because it's a simple core that makes the hole, you're just going to patch up the bale, because I won't be feeding them for another, hopefully a month. If I can keep the sheep out, I will. So if I patch it up, it'll keep the bale fresh. Seamus is going to send off these samples. Should have results in...
Yeah, these samples are going tonight. They'll be in America, out in our lab, Agri King's lab in America on Monday morning.
Yeah.
And we'll have results back then. Today is Wednesday. We'll have results back this day week, so we will.
Good man.
Yeah,
that's great. All right. Well, thanks, Seamus. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
lovely job. Good man. It'll be interesting to see how the results show up. I've convinced myself it's going to improve the feed value of it. But the other issue is it going to... Molasses has become quite expensive. It's almost 400 a tonne at the minute. So You know, there's a cost involved there. Is it actually worth it? We'll just have to look at the figures for that. With the price of concentrates at the minute, the plan is to try and cut that meal bill as much as I can, because it is eats into the profits. If you have to feed too much of that stuff, it just eats into the profit. It's a bit like the zero profit farming video on finishing the lambs I done. It's the same thing. Too much meal in the O's, eating into your profits. Really good quality silage, so high DMD, high energy silage, as good a quality as you can make, is the secret to feeding sheep in the shed. Now, in previous years when I hadn't that many sheep, I successfully done it with hay, no problem, fed hay, but the concentrates required were actually doubled up. It took twice as much concentrates. The problem as well, the stomach actually, the room in the stomach, or in the stomach for forage, shrinks. So it probably is a sheep's major flaw. I heard Cammy mentioning that the sheep's ambition is to, two ambitions in life is to, one was to die and the other was to break out. And if she managed to break out and die in the neighbour's farm, she had fulfilled her two life's ambitions. I thought it was a really good one. But anyway, there are two flaws. But her other major flaw is that when she's developing these fetuses in the last 6 weeks, so the lambs are growing inside her belly, and the room for this forage, this grass, silage and meal, is actually becoming less. So as the demand increases for these nutrient requirements, the stomach is shrinking. Here's this boy coming again. Go on, so you notice actually I leave my rams in with the sheep. It's probably not to everybody's desire, but look, I do it. I reckon, I know a lot of lads don't like it, but I believe a sheep having a lamb even into June and July is better than no lamb at all. So I'll scan them at the end of lamb, and any of those empties I'll scan them, and if they're not in lamb, then they're going. Now, so back to me nutrition. So I was saying, as the lamb fetuses, or as the lambs get bigger inside the uterus, the stomach, the sheep's stomach is actually shrinking. So her ability to consume this grass, silage and meal is actually becoming less. And the problem there is the nutrient requirements. This is where you get problems such as twin lamb disease and milk fever. They're not able to get all the requirements that they need from the feed that they're actually getting into their stomach. So that's why we supplement them with concentrates. For the lamb development inside these sheep, 75% of it occurs in the next 6 weeks. Now it's hard to get your head around that. So 3/4 of the lamb's growth occurs in the next 6 weeks. So that's why we need to get this feed right, this level of feeding right. I might have mentioned it in the scanning video. It's essential that that nutrition in the last 6 weeks of lambing is kept right, because if you get that wrong, you're setting yourself up for failure. I have since learned, since my days of feeding hay, that if you can make really, really good quality grass silage, you can actually reduce that concentrate bill. So at a time when concentrates are pretty expensive, now I think as a general rule of thumb, would it be right to say a farmer housing ewes for 6 weeks, a twin bearing ewe could be feeding anything from 20 to 40 kilos of meal in that time period, just depending on the feed value. I know if you're feeding hay, you'd definitely be feeding the upper end towards 40 kilos of meal. That's €20 at 500 a tonne, and I actually think you'd struggle to buy meal at 500 a tonne at the minute. So that's costing €10 per lamb of meal. So the longer I can get away without actually feeding this concentrate, the better. It's the more money at the end of the year. I have experimented in the past, and I did, when I hadn't that many sheep and I was getting loads of winter grazing, and I was getting grazing on of this lovely type of grass here on the dairy farms. I was getting loads of that type of grass right up into March, into the 2nd and 3rd week of March, when I was already started lambing. So I done an experiment. I left the sheep out on the grass, and no concentrates whatsoever, so just purely grass, twins and triplets, no concentrates, and really nice big lambs, plenty of milk. So it's surprising if you could work it on grass. It is the cheapest system, but it's practically impossible. Like the problem is getting the grass at that time of year, and if you're going to try and have your own grass set aside for that, it soon disappears. It's really difficult to manage. It is possible, and it has worked for me, but it's difficult to manage. It'd be lovely if you could manage it, so you'd have the benefits of outdoor lambing, no meal bill, healthier lambs, win-win all the way. So here's a look at the results back from Agri King. This first set of results are from the bale with no molasses. The DMD just circled here in red is almost 68%, which wouldn't be terribly high. So this is the molasses treated bale, and we can see the DMD is significantly higher here. It is almost 73. It's very hard to say if the molasses has contributed that much. Here's a look at the dry matter of the no molasses bale. You can see it's quite high. It's 58%, as opposed to the molasses treated bale. The dry matter is 44%. So the only explanation I can find for that is possibly a lighter part of the field where the grass dried a bit more during wilting, which may have skewed the results a little bit. You'd also see, if you have a look through there, the crude protein is significantly different in the two bales. The bale with no molasses has significantly higher protein. It's almost 15%, whereas the molasses treated bale is almost 12%. So it's very hard to say if the molasses has improved the bale significantly. Definitely has improved the look of it and the smell of it, but possibly some more research needed, maybe a bit more trialing to do with no molasses, and maybe try Agri King's product all side by side and maybe get a better look at it next year. So that's it for today. So I'll leave you with those set of figures. Not a definite result, more work required. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a like and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.